Hello, my name is Enzo,
Hey everyone, I'm Jessica.
and we're outside that big yellow house again. We just can't get enough of this place on Beaconsfield Boulevard in Beaconsfield. And we're going inside to interview Dahna Weber. But before we do that, we're going to just talk about our Facebook projects, Jessica and I. So Jessica, you have a Facebook group. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, it's called Jessica Brown Inspires, and it's just some motivational, inspirational posts to help people who are looking for transformation, inspiration, get them through their day.
All that good stuff. And myself, my group is called Holistic Life Network, also on Facebook. And it's mostly there to showcase holistic therapies and therapists in the greater Montreal area. So we're really excited to go upstairs and interview Dahna, and we'll see you in a bit upstairs. Take care.
See you up there.
Hello, my name is Enzo.
And I'm Jessica, I'm today's co-host.
We're at the Big Yellow House in Beaconsfield again today, and our guest is Dahna Weber. Dahna.
Dahna.
You prefer.
Nice to be here with you.
So, you're not really a holistic therapist, but you do provide services to holistic therapists. You help them a great deal. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. I like to say that what I do is I help people pursue their dreams and their passions.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to help people launch their businesses and launch their ideas and take their innate gifts and show them how they can actually make a business of that.
And other than holistic people, you also have corporate people.
Yeah.
You work with women's groups, or
We work,
can you give us an
yeah,
idea?
for sure. We work with small businesses, entrepreneurs, some medium-sized business, but our preference is to work with smaller business owners. And we do a lot of work with coaches and people in the holistic fields. And what we do, I say we help people get it done. And when I say it, what I mean by it is you have to have a strategy. You have to have a business name. You have to decide, am I going to incorporate? You have to have a business card, a logo, branding, personality. You have to have documents to give to people. You have to have webinars. I mean, how are you going to sell your business? What are your offers going to be? Are you going to work online? Are you going to work one-on-one? All of these questions, we help guide people to make these decisions and put this plan into action so that they can actually launch their business.
Which is really important for holistic people, because most of us don't think in those terms, so you're doing a great service.
I find that a lot of people in life, they have trouble balancing the business and money side of things and the holistic life side of things. And even, especially in the holistic circles, I find even some will find that money even might corrupt their more spiritual side. At least that's been my experience with some of the people I've encountered. You seem to have a balance in that. So I want to know, what are your thoughts on that? And how do you balance having a holistic lifestyle and being more business and money minded?
So I like the word balance because it's something that, for some reason we all strive for, right? So that we won't have too much work or too much stress or too much anything in our life. But I actually feel that when you work in your passion, it doesn't feel like work. Now that's not to say that you shouldn't take a weekend off and disconnect, or a month off, or a sabbatical and travel, or whatever it is. Yeah. But I think that your approach to balance is different. So that's sort of like, balance is a big word for me. I spent like 2 years, I need more balance, and then I'm like, what do I balance? I love what I do. I wake up thinking about it. That's what passion is. But in terms of what you're asking about, crossing the lines between money and, I think it's particularly difficult in the helping professions.
Yes.
Right? And so I will often say to a client, if you were to call up a psychologist, would you ever expect the psychologist to meet with you for 2 hours and not charge you?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you even, you might even think that you might not even get a 15-minute consult on the telephone.
Yeah.
So what is it about what you do that makes you think that you shouldn't be charging for it.
Mhm.
You know, I'm a socialist at heart, and I wish that our entire society was made up of bartering, but it's not. we have
Yeah.
credit cards and like lattes to pay for. Right? So, but I urge people to, you know, like I know. I remember many years ago, I spoke with a psychologist who I was networking with. We were at a women's networking event, and I said, you know, what do you do? Because I get so many people. Can I just pick your brain, right? Or I just want to ask you a question. And so I think that what you can do is also allow people access to you in some way. So, for instance, you could do a meetup group once a month, or you can do offer free consultations on the phone up to an hour or 15 minutes, or webinars, or you could say, I'm always at this networking event, come and pick my brain there. So I think it's important to allow people access to you.
Yes.
I mean, I'm like really, I love talking about what I do, and I often tell people, like, I'm really happy to give a free hour or so of my time away to help people get set up in business. And, you know, and I do some nonprofit work, and I think you just have to try to allocate some nonprofit work, some free work, some sliding scale work, or some access to you so people can find out.
That's great.
So, can you give us a brief history of your journey, how you got to where you are?
Sure. I think of myself as an entrepreneur, and more of an entrepreneur than a consultant, and I see that in terms of growth. Growth is something that's really, really important to me. Personal growth, professional growth, and to constantly be doing that. And I think that is at the source of an entrepreneur. Like an entrepreneur isn't happy if they're not growing.
Yes.
And I would say I knew I would be an entrepreneur from the time I was a child. When I was 6 years old, I used to be on construction sites with my dad, who was a contractor. And I grew up in different family businesses. And so I went from, you know, watching my dad build homes to me building websites instead of like live sites. And it was something I always knew. I wouldn't say fell into, but I became really interested in women's rights and women's issues as I got older. I even did the hairy armpit phase. For quite some time. But now I'm a lady again. And I've done some nonprofit work in refugee camps on the Thai, Burmese, or Myanmar, as some call it, border, helping women, collectives, because I have strong feelings about women and poverty and women and money, and most of my clients are female-based. My team is female-based. The company's called Mink Motherhood Incorporated. We're all moms who needed alternative type of work and to be able to work project-based because we had to pick up our kids at 3 or sandwich generation. And so that was really important to me. And I really wonder what the state of this planet would be if women had more money and more power. And so that really speaks to me, and I really think that people deserve to earn money and deserve to do what makes them happy and what drives them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that is really inspiring. That's good work you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I've met so many holistic workers, and they just have so much to offer the world. They have these gifts and compassion, and there's so many people that they can help, but they're just not business minded, and they don't know how to get their message out there. They don't know how to reach the people that need their help. So that's where you come in, I think. So how would you advise a client to wrap their head around a more business minded mindset and to make them realize that their practice is actually a business?
This is a really difficult question that you're asking, and I think again because the holistic world is all about helping people, and so for some reason I don't know what it is, but I would almost say, you know, imagine you have to hire a lawyer, right? You expect to pay for the services, right? And you've spent you know, and what are you paying for when you hire somebody? What you're paying for is their expertise,
Yes.
right? And they have studied for years, and they have worked with clients for years, and they know the law, and so that's what you're tapping into.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to get people, and I think for every coach and every client that I've worked with, there are different fears and different reasons
Mm-hmm.
where they get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoy finding that stuck place and giving them tools
Yeah.
to get over that hurdle, because
Right.
it really is, it's a mindset shift,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And it's different for every coach, so
Yes.
it's kind of hard to answer, but
Right.
I think I have, there's an artist who makes cards, and she has this one card of, it's a woman's foot, watercolor, about to step off of a ledge, and whenever I see her, I buy like 10. And sometimes when a client launches a program or launches a website, I'll send them a card with this, you did it, you know,
Oh,
like you
that's
took
great.
that step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And you're adding your personal touch in there. That's really great. Yeah.
Could you give us an example of a client who you helped a great deal that sort of stands out?
For sure. I'd say the first client that comes to mind, it's a client I started working with, this May will be 2, so we're a year and a half in.
Okay.
And so I'll fast forward to the catapult. So in a year and a half, today she's asked me to make a graphic for her that shows that her site has had 5 million visitors.
Wow. Wow.
So that's the after,
Yeah.
right? The before is like lunch in a restaurant saying, you know, I've been doing this, this, and this, and I really want to monetize my site. How can I do that?
Mm.
And the growth has just been spectacular.
Wow.
I'm like,
What does she do?
she's not a holistic coach, but I think it's very interesting what she does, because the way that she had that growth, okay, so she's a blogger,
Mhm.
okay, and I think that all coaches need to be blogging to share their expertise. They can't be as prolific as she is, because, you know, she'll do at least 2 a day, let's say, or
Wow.
at least 1 a day, and she now has guest bloggers, and those are some of the tools that, you know, we talked about.
Excellent.
But what I would say is, I told her to do more of what she's doing. So, you know, really, like, you have to practice your gift. The more you practice your gift, like the more of these videos you make, the more content you have on your site, the more your site gets crawled, the more you, I often tell coaches, practice, 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 do what you,
Yeah.
do what it is that you're doing. And some people disagree, but I feel really strongly, it's more important that you practice than you get paid. I'm not saying you shouldn't get paid, but in the beginning,
Yes.
if you don't have clients and you're not practicing, you get demoralized, because when we do the thing that makes us shine, we shine, and then people feel that energy.
And even at the beginning, if it's not the greatest, but at least you're taking the small steps. That's really, really important.
It's very important.
Because if you sit back and you're in fear all the time, you're not going to move.
Absolutely. So that's, I mean, and there's, you know, there's quite a few clients. I have a reflexologist that I worked with, who is chock-a-block full, you know, and it takes longer than people think, and that sort of goes back to the question that you asked me. You need a lot of patience. Like, you start a business, or you know, you get your business card, and people have this expectation that it's just going to come,
Yes.
and it isn't. It isn't.
My website is up, my cards are here. Where are the
Where is
clients?
it? Yeah, and it really takes a lot of perseverance, and I recommend things like, you know, make a commitment to yourself that you're going to network this much, or you're going to make X amount of phone calls, or you're going to send out
Yeah.
X amount of emails or newsletters, and commit to it and do it. And I think that it's that perseverance that really, and I say 3 years, it's a magic number in starting a business.
3 years.
3 years, yeah.
As you do your work, do you find you grow along with your clients? Do they help you push along?
Definitely. I mean, I'm really, really grateful that I get to work with so many different people, with so many different practices
Mm-hmm.
because I'm constantly learning new things, and I think I would shrivel up if I weren't. And I'm constantly introduced to different ideas and tools and techniques that people use,
Mhm.
and I'm reading through testimonials that they've had, and I'm visiting people in their homes and seeing, what's in their area. I've seen some incredible studios and people's space that they work in, and it's I have to say that it's fascinating to see some of the work that people do.
Mhm.
I often have tried the services of some of my clients or attended their workshops, and I wouldn't be me if I wasn't always looking at personal development, and it's a real pro of what I do.
Actually, I want to ask you a little bit, something a bit more personal, because while we're on the subject of personal development, you mentioned Northfield to me before.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about this. This is in the U.S.
Yes, it's in the U.S.
This is part of her personal development, you could say.
Definitely. I belong, it's funny because for me, community is very important. And I think it's important for absolutely everybody, even people who are introverts, even people who think they are quiet and non-community oriented. And so I belong to this organization called the Northfield Conference. And we have an annual conference, and it's of open-minded, open-hearted, experiment almost, where we live together for a week, and it's nonstop workshops and conference hours and people sharing their stories and their gifts and their fears and their challenges. And it's really amazing. It's almost like I've done in the past week-long silent meditation retreats, but this is something that I've done every year. I think I'm coming up on 10 years now.
Wow.
And it definitely grounds me as a person.
What's the website?
It's called, I'm afraid. Oh no, we're going to be inundated this year, everyone. Actually, it's not funny because everybody that I meet, I talk to about it. And I'm often telling clients, particularly my holistic clients, you should come. It's called thenorthfieldconference.org. And it's definitely a strong part.
I remember checking it out, and it sounds very impressive.
Yes.
Oh, that is interesting. I hadn't heard of it. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. Well, it's about 200 people each year, but it's been going on for over 125 years now.
Wow.
Started off as an all-girls Christian
What
camp.
city again?
It's in
Or
a
state?
very small town. It's in Massachusetts.
Okay.
In Northfield, Massachusetts.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really
Interesting,
amazing.
yeah.
It's amazing. There happens to be a lot of Canadians. We're about 30-40% Canadian. Just sort of happened over the last 20 years that a whole bunch of Canadians went down.
Wow.
So.
Okay,
Excellent.
cool,
Thank
yeah.
you for that.
I want to know, you have a lot of clients that are holistic based, and what's the if a new person wants to start a holistic type of practice, what is the first thing they need to do business-wise?
Are they already a holistic person and they're trying to launch, or are they thinking of
Someone who wants to do it as a profession,
Okay.
as a business.
So
And
I
get
think
clients.
the first thing that somebody has to do, you want to think about why, when you go to hire somebody to do services, what is it you want to see? What is it you want to feel?
Mhm.
So you want to feel that you're talking to somebody who's an expert in what they do.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of holistic coaches make the mistake of, oh, well, just try this, or I'll just try that. And so what happens is that people meet you
Mhm.
and you don't seem professional.
Mhm.
So it's really important to think about what is it you want people to feel when they meet you. Because really that happens in under 3 seconds
Mhm.
when they meet you, or when they look at your business cards or your website. You really have under 3 seconds.
Right.
So in those 3 seconds, do you want people to feel calm? Do you want people to feel safe? How do you want them to feel?
Mhm.
And communicating that to them.
Okay.
Somebody wanted to contact you. How did I get a hold of you? Email, website? phone? What would you like to give us?
Any of the above. I'm happy for anything. My
Okay.
website is www.motherhoodincorporated.ca.
Okay.
And my phone number is 514-578-4655. And email is dana@motherhoodincorporated.ca.
So what I want to know is, can you show us a little quick demonstration? I know that in your business you do a lot of things to help the clients on all aspects of the business and even how they should think and progress with this. But just for the sake of the video, is there something that you can show us on the computer of what you might be able to help someone with?
Sure. Here, I'll just share my screen. There's.
Maybe you could bring it a little closer like that.
Okay. Let me just get that over there. Sorry about that. Look at everything that's popping up. So here's an example of a website of a client, and so something that I can do is, a lot of people maybe have started a website on their own because they were, if we go back to what I just answered or what we were talking about being professional, and maybe they feel like they don't have a budget, so they've done a site on Wix or on Weebly or something to get them started. And so one of the things that I can do is I can look at that site and make suggestions to tweak that to make it look more professional.
Because like you told us earlier, you have 3 seconds to make an impression.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so the classic example that I give is, I show the site of an amazing photographer. Her name is Wanda Malfara, and if you open up her site, within a second, you will know that she's a portrait photographer.
Okay.
And that is the goal. The goal is that when people open your site, they will know what you do in under those 3 seconds. So, for instance, Sherry Nash is a client of mine. We built a site for her a few years back called Be Habit Free. And Sherry does lots of amazing work, and recently has also done some work in healing, working as a healer. And so she has a second site like this that we just went over and did a quick review on some quick fixes that she can do to make the site look more professional. So for instance, I mentioned to Sherry that the site is actually missing a logo, which should be in this area in the top left area. And if she were to put the logo, so the logo works as the home button, and so she could remove over here, there's the word home, so that would aerate the logo and really push forward the branding. Another suggestion we talked about was, if you look at this page, the About page, you'll see that there's a picture and it's centered and there's no text on either side. So it's missing some formatting. It could really use a title bar going across, and it could use some text next to it. And this might seem like nitpicking, but you have to understand people are looking on different devices, and you really need to capture them as quickly as possible. Like you have to ask yourself, when you go looking for a website and you don't find what you want right away, the first thing you do is click off. And so you spend all this time working to get people to visit your site. You want to make sure that they get your information and they find out what you do so that they'll engage your services. That's a little example of, I could give somebody some tips about their website.
Perfect.
I love what I do. So I get a little lost in it. Which is a good thing, right?
Really shows through, so that's fantastic, yeah.
So thanks, Dana. This has been really nice to hear what you do and give us a little demo.